Honourable Member Scott
Simpson.
Simpson.
Thank
Escape
you,
me for a minute, Mr. Simpson.
Mr. Speaker. This is a Rangatiki member that used to have that name of Wilson, I understand.
That
Mr.
was
Speaker.
close.
However, good evening to you, Mr. Speaker and members. Sir, it's a pleasure remotely to take a call on this bill introduced by that member Sue Moroney. Not Morona, Moroney.
Order.
Privacy, giving Privacy Commissioner necessary tools amendment bill.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all know the Speaker's rulings in this particular area. To deliberately attempt to mock a member in that way, the member didn't stumble. If he did it once, it would have been a stumble, but he did it twice. He did it deliberately, sir. And my view is that you should at least require him to withdraw and apologise. And if you are really, I'll take the next point of order soon. And if you're going to take it really seriously, Mr. Speaker, then you'd terminate his speech.
Well, can I just say it is actually a form of unparliamentary language, and it can actually be probably seen as a personal reflection under Standing Order 117. But I'd just like to take the opportunity to remind all members that all members are honourable, and that's it. And we refer to each other as honourable, despite what we may think as otherwise. We call a member what we would want them and us all to become. So I caution the world that we caution the House that we see the world as it is, not as it can be. So I just caution the member, please be careful when he addresses the House in the manner that he's done so.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
The other point, which I thought that you might have ruled on without me having to draw it to your attention, was the interjection during the point of order on the part of the, what's he called, the fourth whip, or the National Party junior person.
Order. Look.
Well, sorry, no, he's an assistant deputy whip or something like that. Yeah. But so when you're sitting in that chair, you're meant to obey the rules, and you're not meant to interject during points of order.
Perfectly understood, Mr. Mallard, and I'm sure the members learned from that. But unfortunately, there was an interjection on the member's own side, which didn't actually help. So I therefore, we're back now with Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member opposite who has introduced this bill, the Giving Privacy Commissioner Necessary Tools Amendment Bill.
Order. I know that it's Members' Day and it's Members' time, but interjections are not permitted between members who do not have the floor. If they want to interject on this person who's speaking or addressing the House, that's another matter, but not on each other. I call the Honourable Member Scott Simpson.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was defending you. He was saying you're a grumpy old man.
Look, I know it's Wednesday evening, Mr. Mallard. I call the Honourable Member Scott Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member that has introduced this bill, the Giving Privacy Commissioner Necessary Tools Amendment Bill, has, in her introductory words, spent an awful lot of time citing a variety of cases where privacy had been breached by various agencies of the state. And it's fair to say, Mr. Speaker, that the government does take privacy issues very seriously. But we live, Mr. Speaker, in a time of great change, of speedy change and of technological change. And I think one of the things that we have all done from time to time is made an error when we've pushed a button on an email or hit a send button when we thought we shouldn't, or copied in people that we thought we shouldn't. It does happen from time to time. Now, I'm not making excuses for other people's failings. All I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that from time to time human failings do occur to us all, and computer technology glitches can from time to time occur. They are, however, a significant matter of importance when people's individual privacy is impacted and when there are matters to do with their interaction with state agencies. So the purpose of this bill that the member has introduced seems to me to be, and it's a short bill, it seems to read that it's to ensure that the Privacy Commissioner has sufficient investigative and enforcement powers. So the government, sir, agrees that the Law Commission's recommendations to replace the Privacy Act with a new one are required, and indeed, as was mentioned in the mover's opening speech, already action is being taken for that to occur, and I understand that a paper is going to Cabinet later this year and expect new legislation to be introduced next year. So this National Party government actually wants to have legislation that appropriately and fully balances the need and the right of individuals to have their privacy against the need for particular government agencies to be able to share information and to perform the roles and requirements that the state agencies have to do on behalf of the taxpayer. And so it's a question of balance, and it's a question of ensuring that systems and procedures are in place. And so I would think that most people through the House would probably agree that ways to improve the protection of personal information and how it's collected, how it's stored and how it's used to help people are positive things and things that this House should be taking note of. So indeed, over the last little period of time, there have been a number of quite high-profile instances where privacy breaches have occurred through various government agencies. And in order to prevent breaches of that magnitude happening again, it's important that the Privacy Commissioner is able to undertake investigations to identify gaps in process and systems and maintenance, and in terms of bringing agencies into a compliance regime. And that compliance regime, Mr. Speaker, needs to be, of course, in terms of the Privacy Act 1993. Now, the honourable member that introduces this bill believes that giving the Privacy Commissioner the ability to issue compliance notices and demand information handling audits across the public and private sectors is indeed the only way to ensure that private information in New Zealand is held by agencies, is not misused or breached by the public sector or outside entities. Well, I'm not sure that that is the only way, Mr. Speaker. I think that there are a number of other options, and the concern that I have is that whilst this side of the House we agree with the Law Commissioner's recommendation that a review of the Privacy Act, that the Privacy Commission be able to issue compliance notices, the point that we differ on this bill with the mover is that we don't support an audit power being given to the Commissioner. So we want to ensure that the Commissioner's role is strengthened, and that it is going to be able to have the teeth to ensure that the systems are robust and that maintenance and privacy can be protected. So this bill by Sue Moroney only takes a very narrow and small number of the selected pieces of recommendations of the work that the Law Commission did, and it doesn't consider for 1 minute the combined impact of the wide-ranging recommendations by the Commission, because you actually have to, I think, we have to take the Commission's recommendations as a whole rather than just sort of picking bits and pieces out of them. Because I don't think that that will provide the kind of balance and structure and form that is going to provide for good system and good process. So, sir, since the 1993 Act was passed, of course, technology has developed at a scary rate for many of us. As I said earlier, there are a number of times when human error can intervene. And so it's up to agencies of the state to ensure that they do have the robust processes. So, sir, this piece of legislation introduced by the honourable member is not one that we will be supporting, because it doesn't complete the whole package, it doesn't address the whole issues, and of course we are pursuing our own piece of work on it. So, sir, for the second time tonight, we are presented with a very small piece of work from a member opposite that really doesn't do justice, I think, to the process of members' bills. It's a short 6-clause piece. The preamble is indeed longer than the proposed piece of legislation, and really I think that the process of members' bills deserves better and more fulsome analysis and consideration than to have pieces of legislation like this brought to the House. Sir, we won't be supporting this bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. I call the honourable member Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr.